Boring case. Cool guitar. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. It's time to review the original John Mayer Stratocaster. That's right, before he went to PRS, made the Silversky and all that other good stuff, there were Fender Signature models. And they're actually quite fascinating, so let's go ahead and learn all about those so we can fully appreciate what this one is. So John Mayer, if you're not familiar, in the 2000s he had a bunch of pop songs, and that's always just what I thought he was associated with. But it took Tyler Larson of Music Is Win to make a bunch of videos about John Mayer to make me realize, oh no, he's kind of seen as like a modern day guitar hero. He's actually quite a fantastic guitarist. So starting in the mid 2000s, Fender started to make some custom signature guitars for him. For example, around 2004, they recreated Black One, which is a custom shop aged guitar, which looks really cool, which mimics one of his instruments that he's used heavily on stage. However, starting in 2005, an Artist Series lineup of Fender USA guitars were built based on one of his other instruments, an SRV Stratocaster. SRV standing for Stevie Ray Vaughan. He enjoyed playing his original, so they decided to make a tribute based on that with his name attached to it, and they came in a sunburst as well as Olympic white finishes. Now from there, the popular Artist Series guitars, there were limited edition finishes. So one of them is Charcoal Frost Metallic. It has a cool little racing stripe on it. And then Shoreline Gold, the one we're talking about today. Now the competition stripe does not continue on to the back, but it does go mostly through the side, but that's just an aesthetic he liked, so you had two limited edition finishes with it. These ones are kind of rare, but outside of the competition series, there was a 2007-ish Cypress Mica with these cool special knobs that they threw on it. And then in 2010, there was a Black One made to mimic Black One, and then they did another custom shop, and I'm not sure if I got all of them. I am not an expert on John Mayer Stratocasters. This is just my attempt to create a cool little video talking about them to the best of my abilities to research guitars. So the best way to understand this one is it's a limited edition finish on a very popular Players model, and it seems these were somewhere around 1600 brand new. However, we just talked about the whole PRS thing. Fender no longer makes the John Mayer Stratocasters, and just like Zakk Wylde starting his own brand, he'll probably never go back to Gibson. I don't see John Mayer ever going back to Fender, so these have kind of become collector's instruments, because you'll never find these for the same price as those old sold reverb listings from 8+ years ago. So that makes a lot of people say, are the old John Mayer guitars worth it when we have the Silversky? Well, here's the thing, they have special pickups. These are known as the Big Dippers, and they were never available outside of the John Mayer signature guitars. Now, apparently his original Stevie Ray Vaughan one had some sort of a manufacturing error that caused the mids to be scooped on them, so it gives you a unique tone. And I remember when we reviewed the Silversky, they tried to recreate a pickup that did a similar thing. So I don't know. Is this going to sound as good as the Silversky and be like the end-all be-all of Stratocasters? I guess we'll find out. I'm as close to an unbiased review as you can get on this topic, because I have no bone in this fight. This one is here on consignment, so we'll see how this goes. But besides the pickups and the finish, another unique feature about these is stock from the factory. They have no backplate and they rock 5 springs for a nice tight trem system. They also started life as satin finished necks, but they will gloss up over time like this one has. And you also get a signature decal on the ball end of the headstock, but look at this. Your string tree is like oddly all the way up the headstock right here, where it's normally like right down in this area where the light's reflecting. So that's another unique feature of the John Mayer signature Stratocasters. And there's some more stuff we'll talk about on the workbench, but now we need to talk about the case. What happened to the case, Trogly? Why is it unbranded thing? First off, this is honestly a pretty decent case as far as aftermarket ones go, but these originally shipped in gig bags. Now they were advertised as premium gig bags, but most times people will upgrade them into a hardshell case. But this one appears to be TKL made in Canada, so it's not one of the more inexpensive Chinese ones. But we do have a little bit of paperwork here, including our ashtray, our vibrato arm, and our owner's manual. So that's a quick rundown on these. Let's do something a little bit more in depth over on the workbench. Follow me there now. Inside the John Mayer Strat, here's what you're working with. It's very traditionally routed, just 3 single coils, but we have a barcode right here in the neck, and if you lift this up, you can see there's a slightly larger of the same barcode. And then if we take a quick peek under there, we can actually see the body, which according to spec sheets is alder on these. So no major surprises there, but if you need to adjust the truss rod of your neck, it's at the base of the heel. Now they do have a very slight scoop here, so you might be able to get the right specialized tool in without having to take your neck off. And then your control cavity has similar stuff going on with the barcode, and you can see this is not a decal that they put on the guitar. It's actually sprayed on it. Judging by this evidence right here, they likely sprayed it the gold color, then they did masking tape and sprayed that on. But now let's take a look at our pickups and electronics. So all the pickups are marked JM, likely for John Mayer Signature pickup, and it's BR for bridge, MD for middle, NK for neck. But they're mounted to the pickguard like so. And despite not being a custom shop level guitar, it's got all the cloth wiring. So we'll take a second to look at that. Looks like we're rocking 250K pots. These two match, CTS branded. This one does not. And it looks like there's a chance that that's a long shaft pot, whereas these ones over here are short shafts. The solder work looks different than the other ones, so I think that might have had to have been replaced on this one. But you might have also noticed you've got shielding all along the backside. And as far as your output jack cavity, nothing too crazy going on in there, but you can see some more of the red spray over, as well as the jack itself. The readings within the circuit, 7.62K ohms. Neck position, 5.73. Middle pickup, 6.1. And then you've got your in-between positions, about 3, and then about 3.4. So that's kind of interesting. Rather hot bridge, kind of an in-between middle, and then a regular style neck. But now we can just appreciate the condition and finish here. It's in pretty decent shape. It was definitely used though. It's got some light scratches. So if you're interested in this one, just keep in mind it's not a perfect mint condition example. Like right here on the pickguard, you can tell somebody had some quite heavy picking on there. Now I was able to lessen the appearance of that with my light scratch remover, but it's still definitely a little bit worn when you get it in the light. And you've got some picking scratches in other areas. But so far, I have not seen any like major chips in the finish or anything like that. And then there's one more anomaly about this one. Look right there. We've got some sort of a sticker shadow of an American flag. I'm not sure if maybe these things came originally with plastic over top of it and had a flag there, or if somebody put it there themselves, but it's definitely caused some uneven aging. But it certainly took me a while to notice it. And here's a look at our vintage style bridge. You've got your 6 Fender branded saddles. But we can move on from our alder body to our maple neck with a rosewood fretboard. It's a slab board, that's part of his vintage specs, with 21 Dunlop frets. They're the 6105 set. So that means they're narrow, but still tall, whereas a vintage one wouldn't be quite as tall. So this will feel about right, but be easier to do bends with. And as far as the condition of the frets, I would say there's just some light wear and tear to them. Nothing too overly excessive. And these are supposed to be clay dots. I love the streakiness of the rosewood on this one. It was specifically spec'd out as African rosewood with a thick C-shaped neck. So that measures 1.69 inches at the nut, 2.04 at the 12th. First fret neck depth, 0.82, and wow, 0.96 by the 12th. Don't let that whole thick C shape scare you away if you're used to like Gibson guitars. I mean, I would categorize this more so as a medium neck profile. Like, it's not overbearing, crazy baseball bat, but it's not super slim. It's just a little bit on the higher end of medium, but it really fills up as you get to your soloing area. Here's a look at that neck profile, 1st fret, 12th fret. That looks really strange on the contour gauge. Very skinny, but full. And then it just kind of transitions into a normal, full-feeling C-shape. And I guess now that I've seen it there, yeah, it does feel kind of small up here. So even though it maintains its roundness, it just feels almost slimmer up here, but at the same time getting fuller. Now, I told you earlier that the finish on the back of the neck is satin. However, the face of the headstock is still a full gloss, so you get that really fancy look to it. You can see our Fender logos here with our really high string tree. Then we've got our vintage poke it down, wrap it around style tuners. And some interesting wood grain on this example. This one's rocking a 9.5 inch fretboard radius and features that typical 25.5 inch scale length. Moving on to the backside, first glance looks really clean, but if you get it in the light just right, you can see there's some buckle worming / scratches. Nothing too crazy, but definitely there. and someone has installed strap locks. However, there's a normal style in the case. I would assume they're the originals. Right there you can see your stock 5 springs for your tremolo system, as well as the type of block they used in these. And our serial number on this one is SE02971, and you can see some sort of a scratch on our back plate. But thankfully, at this time, I don't see any neck pocket cracks. And here's a good look at that neck. So this started life satin. It's definitely been played more so into a semi-gloss. That'll just happen over time. A good judge of how different it is look at the headstock. You see how it's a little bit flatter when we shine the light on it, whereas when we go down here, it's got a bit more of a shine. The whole neck would have started life like that. But if you play these for any extended period of time, they'll do that, or if you polish it. Since this one was already glossed over, I figured it needed a good cleaning. It was feeling kind of grimy, so now it just feels nice and fast. But here we can see the back side of our tuners, as well as our decal again. But you'll notice this one does not have a skunk stripe. They don't need it, because they have the rosewood fretboard on top. But all said and done, how much does this one weigh? 8 pounds, 4.1 ounces. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how it sounds. Interesting. If somebody just handed this to me in a blindfold test, I honestly don't think I would hear a difference between regular Stratocaster pickups. I guess they have a slightly darker tone to them. That might be where the secret is. That doesn't sound quite as nasally as other Stratocasters. For a baseline test, here's a 1960 reissue Stratocaster. Same pickup. Now back to our Mayer Strat. So there we go, the Shoreline Gold John Mayer signature guitar. What are my final thoughts? Is there something to the John Mayer pickups? It wasn't abundantly clear at first, but once you throw on a little bit of overdrive and distortion, that's when I started to hear it, and I'm just glad I had a quality Stratocaster to also compare this one to. It definitely has that kind of mid-rangey scoop to it, which, being more of a humbucker guy, I kind of like, especially in the more single coil territory of sounds. So I can see why people sought these out, why they were popular. Unfortunately, I do not have a Silversky to compare it to. I want to say from memory, I think I like what PRS did a little bit better. But there's always going to be guys who liked John Mayer pre-PRS with his original Fenders and things like that, the guitars that he used on stage at that time. So I think that's why there will forever be a collector's market for the original John Mayer Stratocasters. But whether or not it's worth it to you as a player to pick one of these up, I mean, you'd probably be close enough with the Silversky. But hey, you do you. You've got options. That's what's great about the world. But if you're interested in being the owner of this one, you can find it for sale on my website, troglysguitarshow.com. And if not, we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you like my thoughts on this one, you might like my initial thoughts on the Nebula Silversky. You can check that review out here.